Welcome to TFW Live, the best kept secret in fantasy football, where we keep that week one feeling going all year long. I'm Austin Sear, and joined here by a couple of my best friends, Johnny Game Time Hicks and Big Travie. You know the gang. And of course, you, Whisper Nation. Big shout out here to Ronald, Albert. We got Pizza Belly in the chat, Freak Stomper showing up. What's up, Jersey J? Love having all of you guys here, as well as longtime friend of the show. Y'all know him as Lando from Snap. How you doing, my guy?
Excellent. Thanks for having me, guys. Always a pleasure.
Dude, stoked to have you here, man. Stoked to have everybody else here as well. And if you love fantasy football and would enjoy joining a community where you know that you belong, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We are trying to get just one more subscriber to Whisper Nation today. Just one more, could be you. And if you are new, go ahead and let us know where you're streaming in from. We'd love to shout you out here live on the show. Lando, welcome back. Wanted to jump into some of our lightning round questions. You ready to hit these?
Getting into it right away. We don't mess around here on the in Whisper
No, we
Nation.
don't, man. We're keeping it flowing. All right, so
let's go.
Do you root for your NFL team or your fantasy team more?
I have become team agnostic. Only my fantasy players is all I care about each Sunday.
Feel that. What year did you start playing fantasy football?
Shoot, it's been probably about 15 to 18 years ago I've been playing fantasy football. Seriously, I would say it's about 8 years now of like really getting into the grind of fantasy. So about 8 years, I would say.
Nice. And in that time, then, who is your favorite fantasy football player all time?
Man, so, Peyton Manning. I'm going Peyton Manning.
Nice. Love hearing that one. That brings back some memories too. Favorite fantasy football team name?
Okay, I'll go the opposite way. I hate anything of a Thielen, like Thielen.
Hooked on a Thielen.
I hooked on a
Thielen a bruising.
It's so played out. I like something unique. I like insider stuff. I like obviously the play on words and team names and player names is fine, but I'm gonna say I hate hooked on a Thielen.
Oh my God, I love that. So in that same vein of things you don't like, least favorite fantasy football player all time?
Least? Oh man. Yeah. Shoot. LeGarrette Blount.
Oh. Any particular reason on that?
Going against those touchdowns he got that one year with New England. For some reason that sticks in my head. Breaking the fantasy rules. Anyone that breaks fantasy rules, like Cordero Patterson last year, how efficient he was. As analysts, what are you supposed to do when that happens? I don't know. You just throw your hands up in the air.
Oh, that's a fun take. So what is a sound or a noise that you love?
A sound or a noise?
Yeah.
I like a waterfall. I like that.
Ooh,
I like noise of a
Yeah,
waterfall.
I can get behind that for sure.
Yeah. Favorite swear word?
Fuck.
Undefeated. What are the most leagues you've played in at one time?
I'll say a few years ago when we really were rocking and rolling. I want to say 6 or so leagues, and that was enough for me.
That's enough.
And that was by myself, and then a couple co-commission leagues.
Yeah, I feel that. Most exciting fantasy football moment.
Man, it was a couple years ago. I was in a 16-team final, and I got my heart broken by Josh Allen in the final game. And I'll never forget it. It was exciting, but it was also heartbreaking at the same time. I've never felt that the sadness ever before.
That much intensity.
Oh man, it was crazy.
So what you're basically saying is you've never gone to a championship and lost until then.
That was, and basically, you're right. You're right.
I feel that one there too.
Championship I've been to, I've won, but that was the first time I've lost, and I had a serious lead. I had Jonathan Taylor that year, and it was just an epic comeback. I think it might have been Josh Allen and Diggs on the same team.
Ooh, that's brutal.
Against New England. Terrible.
That's a refreshing take. Speaking of refreshing, favorite game day beverage?
I'm a beer guy. I like a nice IPA.
Nice IPA. All right.
Yeah.
Boneless or bone-in wings?
Bone in.
Bone in. Last two questions
Yeah.
here. Kickoff is in 2 minutes. You're still deciding your flex. Do you go with your gut or your weekly rankings?
I think I just go with so I usually use my gut for my rankings. So I would go with both the one and the same.
Okay, kind of bring them together there. Feel that. Now, last question. What is your favorite position to draft from in 2022?
I'm going to go, you know what? I think a lot of people answer this question like they need a player in the first round. So I'm just going to go straight middle of the draft, like 106. Let value fall to me, take value. I'm really this offseason I've been about not really about reaching for your guy, just kind of take what the draft gives you. Everything's going to be different. The 106, who knows what it's going to be? I don't know what my 105 is going to be in our draft. So it's not about a specific player. I think it's just you don't need to reach on players. And yeah, I think right dead center in the middle.
I love that take. And I love all of Whisper Nation now who has jumped into our mock draft Monday. Here we got a 12-team PPR. We're doing a super flex, right, Johnny?
Yes.
All right, then. We got Pizza Belly in the 1, Day Kizzles 166 in the 2, Big Travie in the 3, Cat's Pajamas in the 4, Lando there in 5, BroCal 38 at 6. I'm at the 7. Ronald at the 8. FB Therapist, welcome to the show. Football Therapist, love to have you here. Albert M 1218, Johnny in the 11, and Jacob Bly, our number 1 guy, rounding it out at 12. Johnny, ready to get this bad boy started?
Let's do it.
So naughty. All right, fire.
Travis has to actually hit it.
First of all, I wanted to pause and just give Austin super props for Jacob Bly, our number 1 guy.
Yeah,
we've always just called him our number 1 fan, but now we were realizing we were pronouncing his name wrong for 2 years, 3 years. Now he's our number 1 guy. I love it, dude. I love it.
No lie, there he is.
No lie, let's go.
No lie, let's go.
Speaking of not lying, we got Josh Allen off the board, number 1 overall. Lando, who are you targeting in super flex? We've seen Jonathan Taylor pretty much unquestioned be that 101. In a super flex, though, who are you looking at in that first spot?
Yeah, I love Josh Allen at the 101 in super flex. I think it makes the most sense. I think he's my far and away number 1 rated or ranked quarterback this year. But I get it. I get the love for running back, the thirst for running back.
So thirsty.
I love Pat Mahomes going to Pet Cat's Pajamas. So I'm going to go Herb Daddy with the 105 here.
Oh, any consideration for another player, or were you always thinking quarterback?
You have to, in a super flex, you really have to take your shot early I don't know what this draft's going to be like. So maybe the run of quarterbacks is going to happen. You don't want to miss out on one of the top tier guys. Or these guys will just take the positions like the Derrick Henrys of the world, the Cooper Kupps, and they might dry up. So you kind of gauge each draft differently depending on what they want to do, what their strategy is. So for now, I'm happy with going with only quarterback, and we'll see now if I'm going to go back-to-back quarterback or if I'm going to wait a few rounds. You don't want to, if in a super flex league, you don't want to overdraft quarterback if no one else is. Then you seem silly.
I feel on this one here. I love the Josh Allen one. FB Therapist from before. Josh Allen Diggs won me that championship that year on the other side of that one.
Football Therapist, was that me versus you? Did you just whip my ass and I'll never forget it?
Johnny, you're drafting. You're on the clock here. What's going through your mind?
I really wish Justin Jefferson was still on the board, but he's not. And so I'm going to go with Dalvin Cook. I think Dalvin Cook has a chance to be the number 1 running back overall this year, especially with how they're going to use him, the system that's coming in. I'm excited for the Minnesota Vikings in general. I really wanted Justin Jefferson, though. I was hoping for that, but
staying in Minnesota there, you get to get your other guy. I think you're right, Johnny. Minnesota is going to come out swinging. They've got pieces that it almost feels like they need to ride hard, with Dalvin Cook being one of them, Justin Jefferson being another. How about on the backside here, Johnny, after Jamar Chase and Kyler Murray were picked up on the turn by Jacob Bly?
Originally, I was going to just punt quarterback and wait for a while because there are some late round guys that I actually really like that I think people are significantly undervaluing at the quarterback position that can finish top 10. But seeing Hurts here, I am going to take Hurts because I really do think Hurts can finish number 1 this year. He had a big part of last year where he was the number 1 quarterback. And, getting A.J. Brown could open things up a little bit more. So I will go with Jalen Hurts there.
I like that a lot. I'm a believer in the Jalen Hurts #1 overall quarterback this year thinking, simply because it's like that point in a lot of young stars' careers who are really talented, but the whole team is somewhat developing. And before you see that player start to win a lot, you usually see them flex out from a statistical standpoint. You see it in basketball a lot, like when Michael Jordan was like putting up 35 points per game, but they weren't having a ton of like playoff success. And then you make that slight shift in your game where your stats maybe come down, but you're winning at a more efficient clip. I don't know if the Eagles overall are there. I think they're on their way. But if they are on their way right before they're actually there, you get this Mondo blow up from your Jalen Hurts. So I really like that thinking. And now I got to make a pick.
Yeah, another point on Hurts is just how good he was before he got injured. So in the first 11 starts prior to the injury, he was QB1 10 times, and 3 of those he was inside the top 5. So he's got the overall QB1 in his range of outcomes. You add A.J. Brown, I don't see how that doesn't make you better. And I just think that they were trying to be pass happy at the beginning of last year, and then they couldn't because, maybe the surrounding cast, maybe Hurts hadn't taken the step forward yet as a passer. And now they're in that spot to maybe do that. So I'm excited for them to be a lot more pass heavy than they were last year, which doesn't mean they're going to be a crazy pass heavy team. I mean, last year they were the most run heavy team. So
16 passing touchdowns.
Yeah.
Only one direction from that.
See, that's why it's like, because you almost expect his rushing touchdowns to come down because he had so many last year, and Miles Sanders didn't have any rushing touchdowns. So you would expect that to come back and regress a little bit. However, like you said, I do think he ends up throwing a couple more touchdowns to counterbalance that.
Yeah, I feel that too. I think they're going to be pulling together. I'm excited about the Eagles. I'm in on this. Travis, you just picked up Travis Kelce, longtime #1 overall tight end. Any hesitation grabbing him here? Were you thinking anybody else, or were you stoked to grab the tight end in the second round?
I wasn't stoked. I kind of missed the avalanche of the first tier break at QB. So I wasn't going to go and sacrifice and go scoop a QB just because, I'm not going to. I'll get QB later is what it's looking like right now. And what I saw there was a clear advantage at tight end. We keep asking who the wide receiver 1, is going to be now that Tyreek Hill's gone. Is it going to be McCole? Is it going to be Sky Moore? Is it going to be MVS? Is it going to be Juju? And the answer to me is just Travis Kelce. The answer is Travis Kelce all day, every day. And so that's who I want to be going.
Lando, what about this? Has been a popular question on the show the last several weeks. I imagine it'll stay that way. Travis set it up there well. We've got MVS, we've got Mecole Hardman, Juju, as well as what am I forgetting? Sky Moore. So which after Travis Kelce?
Don't forget about Josh Gordon. Don't forget about Flash.
I already did.
He's been getting a lot of steam during the training, the OTAs right now.
Everybody gets steam, dude.
It's like it's a sauna. They're all in a sauna, dude. Steam's everywhere. But I wanted to know if after Kelce, it's a 2-part question. Is there an actual #2 option in Kansas City after Kelce, like we had with Tyreek Hill, or is Tyreek Hill's workload essentially broken down to a carousel of options?
I think it will be a carousel. I think the ball's going to be spread about. Everyone wants to say Juju Smith-Schuster, and obviously he had a great resume with Big Ben when Antonio was the #1, and maybe that same relationship will be there where Kelsey's going to take the majority of the coverage and it'll be just dump offs to Juju. But I do think McCole could step up and Sky Moore could really have a decent rookie season. CEH, I mean, people, it's an apologist if you're trying to project CEH for a breakout season, but I don't think any of the ones really going to be that reliable. And I know there's potential. It just might be hard to project.
Yeah, I feel on that.
I don't see one far and away. Like Juju just hasn't shown it in several years, and he wasn't paid really like he will.
Austin, I wonder if it'll end up, Austin, Lando, everybody. I wonder if it'll end up like the New England backfield, where it's like going to be game plan specific each week,
where the last guy that's drafted will be the best one.
Yeah, something like that. But I think, I think they'll all have their moments. MVS is going to have games, Sky Moore is probably going to have games maybe later in the late half of the year. And I think Juju is going to be, soak up targets too. But again, I think it'll be hard week to week to predict outside of Kelsey. But I do think that it's valuable to invest, especially if you can, like we've talked about for a few weeks, at value, because if one of them actually does, then there's obviously a great chance at some good points there.
Last question here. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, well, I just think I'm gonna go along the Kansas City train, because I do think that there's going to be value had, and because of the offense that they're on and the Patrick Mahomes aura around him being the best quarterback in the league, you will be able, if you draft a CEH or a Sky Moore or MVS or Juju and they have some good games, you'll be able to sell them high because people want pieces of that offense. I think that's the key to take away from it, is that don't draft them to play them all year, because I do think they're going to be somewhat inconsistent, but draft them to sell them and to trade the high value of them and just capitalize on a big game or two.
I like that take. Last thing here on the Chiefs, Lando, what do you think about the running back situation? Do you think CEH is a value like we've seen some people spouting up, or are you coming at it a different direction?
I'm kind of hands off myself. I don't think I'm going to be drafting many, but despite me saying, I think too many fantasy players have been burnt by that running back core. So I don't know if their value will spike if they have some good games, and I don't want to be stuck with CEH. I know there's some hype around him, but I think I'm a little bit out on.
Would have been more in if they didn't sign McKinnon.
Yeah.
I'm kind of, yeah.
That's a real point. We were doing our underdog bet slips, and I was picking the over-under for Damian Williams at the time on his projected receptions. And I had just forgotten Jerick McKinnon was rocking with the squad because he had been absent for so long. And then he comes in and just balls out. And it's like, he doesn't have a ton of tread on the tires. Jerick McKinnon statistically has got some skill to him.
And they trust him. They trust him
in the receiving game.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was where you could kind of get there with CEH. You could say, well, Tyreek Hill's gone. There's vacated targets. Maybe CEH is part of what soaks up those targets, because obviously Ronald Jones projects to be more of a, Derek Gore, Darrell Williams type goal line back for them, red zone back for them, just based on what we've seen them do. But you could even make the outside case, well, maybe finally they're going to make him the guy, And they went and signed the guy that last year, as you said, Austin, in the playoffs, when CEH came back from injury, practice and fold the entire week, they were still like, McKinnon, take all the snaps. So you're seeing what they trust McKinnon, and they put him in those big moments. So
Whisper Nation, let us know what you're thinking about the Kansas City Chiefs playmakers, the running backs. Who is your favorite pass catcher after Kelsey? This is a question we're going to be chomping at all the way up until the NFL season actually starts. Travi, you just grabbed your boy J.K. Dobbins here in the 5th round. Walk me through your thinking here. How you feeling about your first 5 picks?
I was trying to get somebody else. That's my thinking. I was trying to get Cortland Sutton, but I hit the wrong button. But that's all right. Well, it wouldn't be a mock draft in June unless I screwed up a little bit. I can try and make a case for Dobbins as my 3rd running back here. He can catch the ball. I don't know if he will, because Lamar Jackson hasn't consistently thrown it to his backs. But Dobbins is a very, very talented prospect coming out. He showed in his rookie season towards the end of the year, I think he was averaging like 5 or 6 yards per carry down the stretch. So he popped pretty well in his rookie year. Obviously lost the entire year last year to the ACL injury. So for me, I love Dobbins. I think he's in a good offense. I think, when we look at our running backs that survive the dead zone that aren't pass catchers, we want them to be guys, if they're not going to be pass catchers, we want them on a good offense. If they're not going to be those two things, we also want them to be on a team that's going to run a ton. And that is what Baltimore is set up to do. So maybe it's so much that he's going to be almost like a rich man's Damian Harris on a much better run offense with much less competition around him. No offense to Gus Edwards. I think he's fine, but he's also
different role.
Different role. So I think Dobbins has a chance to really escape the dead zone in that case. I did not mean to draft him, though. I would have taken.
So we're right here in the dead zone. So let's talk a little bit about this one. Johnny, you're on the clock, and you'll be up again very soon, drafting close to the turn. So maybe get Lando's take on the dreaded dead zone, how you see running backs in this field. Does it concern you at all, or is this kind of a mirage that the fantasy industry throws out there that doesn't hold a lot of weight with you?
Yeah, it's buzzwords. I don't think there's really a dead zone. I like even Travis Etienne. He checks the boxes that Travis was saying. He'll catch the ball. He's got the potential, even on a bad offense, to be that DeAndre Swift, Christian McCaffrey archetype, to really just get really pile up those PPR points. And if you're going to be in this dead zone, you might as well draft youth, and that's another stipulation for me. So love the Breece Hall pick. Gibson is interesting. Akers, I like Akers. I don't know. I have a soft spot for Akers. He's still super young. I think this is a fine zone. All these running backs have enough upside to pay off their draft capital versus even a Joe Mixon that I took. And then Austin Eckler, it's getting older. Derrick Henry getting older. These guys could overtake them if things land their way. They're young enough. They're fast enough. They've got enough tread left on the tires that they could be good fantasy and week in and week out starters. I don't think there's a dead zone unless you get old. That's what I think
you're seeing an evolution. We were talking to Dave Kluge, who talked about how we've seen an infusion of running back talent the last several years, which has allowed now for more running back talent to be available. Totally. And it's also the role has shifted a little bit. Johnny, you took Damian Harris there. What are you thinking just as we round out this dead zone conversation? What were you thinking?
Well, I think that Damian Harris continues to be a value, especially with what he did last year. I understand it's not quite the same person calling the offensive plays there, but Damian Harris is a very good running back. And as my second, I know he doesn't really take a ton of receptions out of the backfield. So in PPR, you might not necessarily think, hey, I'm going to go and grab him. But because of the touchdown upside opportunity, I do think that he is a guy. I might have reached for him a little bit. I was eyeing another wide receiver there, but I didn't want to get.
Who was it? Tell me. Tell me. He's going to be gone.
No,
say it.
He probably will be gone. But
I'm not. Speaking of,
you're going to know because I'm going to say, damn it, as soon as he comes off.
We introduced Lando as a friend of the show. He's not a friend of me right now because I thought I could get Cortland Sutton after accidentally taking Dobbins. And I saw Landon take him and then laugh. Giggle like a schoolgirl in my face.
I had to. I had to do that. Just
honestly, I'm so glad you did.
It was great.
And the June mocks when you just curse and swear and get mad. That's the best part of it. I love that so much. And it's like, fuck, I wanted that guy.
Yeah, I did.
Perfect.
It is never lost on me how incredible the game of fantasy football is when we have these genuine emotional outbursts about a mock draft or a fake game based on another game we're doing 4+ months ahead of when the actual thing starts. And the feelings and screams are real, man. We don't fake anything on this show. Speaking of not faking it, Johnny's not faking that beard, getting a lot of shout outs on this one, Johnny. What up, do it?
I know. Hey, that's the dad life. Doesn't allow you much time to do things for yourself. So, I run a little scruffy right now, but hopefully I'll be able to get in soon and clean up this jawline for you guys.
Low key shot at me because I don't have any kids and I look more scraggly than Johnny every time.
That was not a low key
shot. I see how you are, dude.
If I would have wanted a
these guys on the other side of the draft, Landon's stealing my guys. Johnny's taking shots.
I'll be honest. I really wanted Miles Sanders instead of Damian Harris.
That's who you should have taken.
Right, but no, I can't because I've got Hurts, I've got AJ Brown. I don't want to be completely tied to the Eagles just in case the shit sinks and then I'm screwed for this whole mock draft here. That doesn't even count, but in my mind, it could. So
no, Johnny. I say especially.
Oh, it was me. I got him.
Marquise Brown I was looking at Marquise Brown and Miles Sanders were the two guys that I really wanted, but I was like, I can't go with Miles Sanders because I've already got enough Eagles. And I was like, Marquise Brown, should I go there or can he wait to the next round? Damn.
I just feel so much better about myself as a person. I just feel good.
Johnny, I like if you're gonna be right, you might as well be right big and take all the Eagles you want. Because if you're wrong, then you're just gonna be like whatever, you're going to lose anyways.
Honestly, I love this take, Lando, and Hayden was talking about this as far as like, oh, all these people that diversify their underdog portfolios and all this stuff. He's like, no, go compete. Say it with your chest. Walk out there and BD them, dude. Like, let's go.
That's really what I mean. Yeah. Go ahead.
I love that energy with it, and it reminds me of this guy, Kyle, who was our cashier at Buffalo Wild Wings for Chelsea and I, picking up a to-go order like literally 7-8 years ago when we were still living in Flagstaff, Arizona. We pull up to pick up the order, and they would do receipts, and like every however many receipts, you'd get a free order of wings. And he'd be like, you guys want to I'm going to tell you something wild? And we're like, yep. He's like, you're going to get free wings on this receipt. And we're like, really? And it's going, and it was bam, free receipts. He goes, yep, here you go. And we were like, what? How'd you know? And he's like, I had no clue at all. There was no way of me knowing whatsoever. And in that moment, it sunk it in. Like, if you're going to make a call, make it hard. Because if you are right, you get seen as a psychic. And if you're wrong, no one cares anyways. But if you half-ass your conviction and you're right, then you don't get the same points for actually being right. So go hard at your takes.
Yes.
In a 12-team league, Johnny, I'm probably the same as you. I wouldn't draft a bunch of Eagles, but I agree with the best ball stuff. Like you might as well really go hard in the paint and get all the same players because that's millions of dollars you could win. Might as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. In best ball, it would have been you best bet I would have went with Miles Sanders in that pick.
Stack them all up.
Yeah, stack them all up.
Mm-hmm. I have a question for you guys. How many rookie drafts or rookies are you comfortable on your team in like a real draft? Are you willing to take a bunch if you really love Burks and London like RJCII did just now, or do you want to you're okay with like one or two or one maybe?
I think in Ron's case it kind of checks out because those are the two you'd probably want, like those are the two probably grandfathered into the most volume right now, projected volume. So in that case, I think 2 is probably the max I'd really want. But
because they're sitting on your bench for a while.
Yeah, there's some running backs I want. Like Breece Hall is a good, like we talk about, dead zone beater. I think Kenneth Walker, if he's kind of been a value too. But I think as far as the wide receivers, I'd be comfortable with like 2 if I've already got wide receivers. I wouldn't want in Ron's case, he's relying on them to be good right away, and we've seen that rookie wall before. So,
man, oh man,
yeah, I probably max 1. I mean, I'm more comfortable drafting a rookie running back than I am a rookie wide receiver, and that's just because rookie wide receivers don't pan out very often. I know we've had back-to-back years where we had Justin Jefferson and obviously Chase, but Justin Jefferson was on the waiver wire week 1, and I know like Elijah Mitchell, fan of his, but again, those are waiver wire guys. And so when you're talking about, I like how you brought up the value of the names. You're not going to get much value for a rookie wide receiver, even if they're popping off. So for me, I would rather take a different wide receiver that I feel more confident in the draft, or that has, in my opinion, higher upside. For example, like Amon-Ra St. Brown or Darnell Mooney. Like, I just think the upside of those guys is greater. And then if I'm wrong, then I know Trey Burks or London are popping off, I'm just going to go try to trade for them, because you can generally get rookies cheaper for trade because people are kind of like selling high on them, or like they're more willing to give up a rookie quicker because they really don't know. They think they found, something and got lucky. So they're like, oh, let's capitalize on it. So that's just where I stand when I draft.
I think those are good takes, and I want to touch a little bit more on these rookies within redrafts. But right now, we got to hit you with the mock draft marathon hype video. Woo! Getting ready for our 4th annual mock draft marathon, 24 hours of straight mock drafting. We're doing it later in July. Check it Ow. Draft marathon. What is this? It's consecutive mock drafts for a total of 24 hours. Requires hours and even years of preparation.
Which is a little bit controversial, but
Are you shitting me, Johnny?
I didn't plan that, I swear.
I can pretty much say 100%.
Something that you really love to do.
Let the games begin.
Somebody came in and stole Johnny and they're hijacking his draft.
Oh, he's gonna blame it on his 78-year-old neighbor.
Damn it, you guys snuck in a super flex. I knew it.
Ball is going to taste different than this meatball.
That's not that bad from a flex.
Outliers decide fantasy champions.
Stand out above the crowd. About the same set of 200 players, and it never gets old. Man, that video isn't getting old for me, Johnny. Well done again on that one. And Whisper Nation, if you are interested in catching all that action coming on later, we're going to be hyping it up. But the easiest way to stay notified is, of course, to hit that subscribe button. Join a community where you know you belong. And while you're at it, if you can tag this video with a little thumbs up, we would sincerely appreciate it. Lando, you've been on our mock draft marathons in years past, right?
Yep. I have.
Yeah,
Great time. Highly recommend. That got me jacked up. You guys, I love that hype video. You guys do a great job with it. Get some great guests. Big fan of the show. Always fun jumping in late in a mock draft. Very entertaining watching how tired and exhausted y'all are. It's the best.
That's what we do it for. Just look like complete degenerates, at the end for everybody else to be like.
I mean,
it's honestly, it actually is as crazy as it sounds. Like, especially in the last 5 hours, I'm sure Austin and Johnny could jump in and attest to this. But when the guests start asking us, like, how you guys doing? You guys doing okay? And they're genuinely like, they care.
Yeah.
We get good guests on, and they're like concerned, and we're like, I just feel loved in that moment and seen. And I think it's so beautiful, and I think it gives me a lot of energy. So I'm excited.
It's super fun. And, over at the Fantasy Whisperers here, we want to bring on as many different great minds and as many different perspectives on how to play this game that we all love so much, love talking about so much, and taken to the next level. This is an evolving game with evolving communities, and getting to bring in so many talented analysts, professionals, entertainers to make this event what it is. It's just one of my favorite things that we do every single year. So we're going to be excited to be with you again, Whisper Nation. Join us coming up in July. I want to take it back, though, to the conversation. I thought it was a really good one, Lando, that you set up on drafting rookies in redraft. And I want to tie it to Johnny's points there, where he, mentioned just a couple of rookies that he'd feel comfortable taking and leans towards the running backs. But I guess I'll kick this one over to Johnny first. We have seen a trend in the NFL of rookie wide receivers being able to perform day one, maybe not day one, but, within that rookie season. I think it was Mike Evans was the 6th rookie wide receiver to have 1,000 yards. Not a lot, right? But there's been a lot, or at least I think there's been at least one or someone who's gotten really close to it every year. A.J. Brown, Terry McLaurin, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamar Chase, of course, Odell Beckham are some names that come to mind. I wanted to know how you think that evolution factors in as well.
I mean, for sure, like they're way more prepared to come in and step in from day one than they've ever have been. But again, some of that had to do with situation. Now, I will say that as far as Burks goes, I think he has the greatest situation as far as stepping into what could be a 1,000-yard season. And then if Zach Wilson takes a step forward, I do think you've got Garrett Wilson who could also push for that. I'm not a big London fan. I think a lot of people are going to be burned on him. I just don't see him being, especially with Mariota as a quarterback. We have to look at history and history shows like Mariota does not throw to the wide receiver. He never has. He probably never will, because he's probably going to be out of the NFL after this year. But what he does do is throw to the tight end. And so that's why I'm so confident in Pitts for Atlanta. But again, if I were to bet on a rookie wide receiver, it probably would be Burks, just because of the situation. But again, you're having to draft him so high that it almost like he has to hit at that, right? Like, look at the other wide receivers that are going in that same cluster. Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was, like Austin said, he was a rookie last year, and he came and hit it big. And so
at the end, right?
Yeah, at the end. And so, like, that's the thing is, like, will it happen this year? Most likely there will be a rookie wide receiver that hits 1,000. What are the odds that you are able to guess that right in a draft and pay the right amount of ADP for that? That's where I get skeptical. So I would rather just not deal with that and then let somebody else take the gamble and then go in afterwards once the dust settles and say, okay, this guy's a good receiver. This guy's okay, I'm going to go and actually try to trade. And then chances are you can use at least minimum what you used in that round for ADP wise to get that player. So that's just where I like to play. That's my comfortability with it. But again, if people are very confident in Landon or Burks and want to draft up, there is a chance for sure that wide receiver could be that breakout wide receiver because we have seen it a lot more.
You're bringing to light some thoughts for me here. The football therapist comes in and says Landon is a much better dynasty option to me than redraft. And this is still within that same thinking. I think there's a lot of second half of their rookie season receivers that are going to perform really well. Is a learning curve in anything you do in life, right? While that learning curve has shortened for rookie wide receivers, it still exists. And as you talked about, Johnny, Justin Jefferson was on the waiver wire. Amon-Ra St. Brown, while he finished as a wide receiver 2, was not a wide receiver 2 through the first half of the season. He just went off at the second half. So guys like, a Christian Watson, an Olave, a Drake London, a lot of these high ceiling type players, a Treylon Burks, I'm not surprised at all if these guys have a little bit slower of a start, but still end up being a high ceiling wide receiver 2, 3 by the time the whole season's done. But that means spare yourself the headache, right? Like don't draft them. Wait till someone either drops them and you pick them up after they burn that dead air, or just pick them up, a week before they start really consistently performing on the waiver.
That's great.
Yep. For me, guys, it's all about roster construction, how you build your team. And if the thing is with RJ here, he is forced to start Burks and Landon right away, or he needs to draft really good late and have guys that he can start right away. It's almost, you have to treat it like an injury. DeAndre Hopkins is going to be out the first 6 games. So you need to draft behind him guys that will start. The Russell Gage is a great example for Bly there, to have guys to cover for Hopkins missing games. So for me, it's absolutely all about roster construction. I like in the back half of my drafts to take flyers, take guys with massive upsides, but only if I have good starters that I can start the season with. If you're forced to start even Breece Hall right away, it's not going to feel super, super great until it does. And then when it does, heck yeah, you won a championship, or they helped you get to the playoffs, but it's roster construction for me.
Well, speaking of roster construction, I hope that the Lions constructed themselves with a Deebo Samuel here, like Jersey J is saying. I just love Amon-Ra St. Brown for my dynasty league, so I'm gonna hype up any positive Amon-Ra St. Brown comments.
You should love him. He's great. I think St. Brown is fantastic, and I think what people are afraid of is that a lot of his points came obviously when Swift and Hawkinson were out of the lineup. But as Dwayne McFarland was kind of telling us a couple weeks ago, Austin, he was good enough to get the targets in the first place, and we need to remember that. And remember, even before all those injuries, Goff was calling ARSB Cup light, he reminded him of Cooper Kupp. So
we know how good of a connection that was.
I think I want to bring in Dwayne McFarland's comments on this. Whisper Nation, if you haven't had a chance to check out our Thursday football show we did with Dwayne McFarland a couple weeks ago, man, do yourselves a favor and check it out, because this dude is an encyclopedia of fantasy football knowledge, and his takes he had an excellent breakdown on predicting wide receiver breakouts by analyzing previous year 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 wide receivers who had not jumped into the wide receiver 1 or 2 category, but had been wide receiver 3s or 4s or 5s the years leading up to the current year, and gave a really good set of insights on who you could expect or have a good bet on to make a significant jump coming into this next year. And one of the coolest takeaways was, even up till year 6, like your Devontae Parkers, for instance, you can get these guys who do end up breaking out somewhat later in their careers and still end up managing a wide receiver 2 or better finish. Speaking of finishes, I got to take my last pick here. Ooh.
Who are you eyeing?
I'm looking at
Not anymore.
Chase Claypool is what I was hoping for. I was hoping it was going to be Chase Claypool. I think Chase has a chance to jump Deontay.
Well,
and he is prototypically. He's just got a fantastic build. He's got a prototypical wide receiver silhouette and skill set. And Deontay Johnson, I think, could have benefited from the way Ben Roethlisberger's arm allowed. So now I got to, well, shit. Now I'm just talking about it instead of doing anything.
Interesting.
I don't think he's going to jump, but I do think that he'll be good.
No.
I do think that Mitch could, he can push the ball down the field, unlike Big Ben. So,
well, correction. Ben could push the ball down the field. He just wasn't accurate.
Good point. Touche.
He was I think he was still top 5 in pass attempts over 20 plus yards, but they just were not they were not on the same page. And that, I think,
oh my God, I just can't help but think about
just real quick, real talk. Do I go Marcus Mariota here for the double dip with Pitts and I at least get my starter for a few weeks? Or do I go Jimmy Garoppolo and he's either going to be starting for San Francisco or gets traded? I got 5 seconds on the clock.
Won't be starting for San Francisco.
Okay, I'm going to
go to Sean. Go to Sean.
No, he's going to be he's going to be out. He's going to be out for the whole year.
It's crazy that he's not getting drafted anymore in a
NFL wants a serious suspension. What was the word? No, significant. Significant. You know, they thought a while about the word they were going to choose. They hadn't said anything on that matter, and then they came out with the word significant. So that to me says quite a bit, as does this completed mock draft, boys. Way to fucking go. I'm stoked on this one here. This is looking good. So Whisper Nation, well done, everybody here in the chat and up here in Sleeper with us. We are going to now get to our notorious draft grades. But before we break down Whisper Nations, the panel is going to give a quick rundown of our own situations. And we'll go ahead and just run it top to bottom there. Big Travie there at the top. Then Johnny, I'll go third with our guest Lando rounding it out before we get to the rest of you's Whisper Nation's mock drafts. Travie, you took Christian McCaffrey there at the 1-3. Tell us what the whole thing happened here.
Yeah, so I actually picked the 3 earlier today because I was like, well, maybe I can still get Josh Allen here. Well, I couldn't. So I ended up taking a running back who I think actually has a chance in PPR.
So you should have taken number 1. It's what you're saying.
Maybe. But I took Christian McCaffrey, who has the chance to put up PPR points equivalent to a quarterback in your lineup. So as long as he's healthy, I don't think that there's any, denying that he's got the ceiling that he does. So I went with him. Obviously, DeAndre Swift and J.K. Dobbins. I'm really confident in this running back room, especially with Dobbins as like a flex player if I need him to be, or just like a fill-in guy. If I'm rocking Swift and McCaffrey for most of the year in a PPR, I'm feeling really good about
that. That's sexy.
Yeah. So then Kelsey was just kind of the consolation prize. Again, I said the tier break happened at QB, so went with Kelsey. I have that advantage. I think Kelsey, Pitts, and Andrews. That's kind of your tier of guys that actually have the chance to give you the, kind of advantage this year. And I wanted to make sure I got one of them if I wasn't going to get the top tier quarterbacks. Then wide receiver, I kind of had to wait on in a PPR, but I feel really good about how it worked out. I got T. Higgins in the 4th, Mike Williams in the 7th, Renfro in the 8th, and then Lazard in the 10th, who fell, pretty hard in this draft. And that's fine. I'll take him there. I haven't been big on the Lazard train, but I'll take him there. I just love T. Higgins upside, Mike Williams upside. Both of those guys kind of, have a chance every week to be the sleeper guy that outproduces the other number 1 on their team. So I really like both of those guys. Hunter Renfro, we can talk about the same thing with Renfro kind of with Amon-Ra St. Brown. He demanded targets when guys were out of the lineup, but you have to be good to demand targets. And I think, should Waller or Adams miss time, we've already seen what Renfro will do. He'll explode. And I just think he's a value to have as a wide receiver 3 with huge upside too. QB was obviously the thing that hurt me the most. I had to wait on the most, but Fields averaged about 450 rushing yards down the stretch last year in the last 5 games. And any QB that can do that has QB1 overall, or at least top 5 upside in their range of outcomes. So I'm in on that. And then I just did a tandem of Goff and Trubisky. Trubisky lighting up camp right now. And, a lot of beat writers think that he'll he'll keep the job. Like they're in no rush to start Pickett. So I thought the opposite just as early as 2 weeks ago. But Trubisky can run, as Johnny was saying earlier, and he has the most weapons he's ever had as a starting quarterback. So I'm really in on that. And then I just want to say one last thing on Khalil Herbert. Like I got him in the last round. Like there are a few running backs we know are 1-for-1s for their guy that you know, as a handcuff, and we know Herbert is that. Like we saw it last year. So I really think Herbert is, you know, like your poor man's Alexander Madison.
Right. And Monty has never stayed healthy a full season, so that is something to note.
I like this team, Travis.
Yeah, I can't believe how good your team would be with Cortland Sutton on it, though.
Oh my
God!
Nice,
Travis Caples.
Nice,
love it, dude.
Nice. You ever got eyes on Travi? I got eyes on Travi. Dead man.
It's my whole heart, dude. You just wreathed my soul.
You sniped a couple of guys from me, Travi. I think you did a good. I like the Lazard pickup. I think that's going to be a sneaky one. I think his ADP is going to climb up, and watch the haters melt. Johnny, how about you? You want to give us a run here from the 11 spot?
Sure. I took Dalvin Cook with my first pick, fell all the way to 11. Then Jalen Hurts in the second as my quarterback. Kyle Pitts in the third. And then I got AJ Brown. Sorry, I got Amon-Ra a little bit later. Then I got DJ Moore, who I think is bound for a big season, especially against Baker. And then Damian Harris as my second running back in the 6th round there. And then aforementioned Amon-Ra St. Brown in the 7th. Darnell Mooney in the 8th, who is getting a lot of steam right now in training camp with Fields. Then I took Tony Pollard and Alexander Madison as a couple of handcuffs with upside. Then Kenny G was somehow, some way still here in the 11th. So got to grab him.
Nice.
Big upside for me this year. I think he's going to have a big bounce back. And then Naheem Hines, who I am buying the sauce for Naheem Hines.
Career high usage coming Hines' way.
It's coming. I mean, we got to, the big thing I want to point out here is, we talked about the fantasy glitch earlier in this stream. Well, guess who they have in common? Well, the quarterback, Matt Ryan. What is he going to do? He is going to be putting Hines in that slot and using him as a wide receiver early and often. So I am totally buying what they're saying about Naheem Hines. So I want him on a lot of drafts. And then Marcus Mariota to close it out to get that double dip and the second quarterback, because all of the other guys that I was looking at as quarterbacks did not get to me. So overall, I actually do like this draft, though.
I really like the Kenny Golladay pick, as Steph Smalls, who joined the show a few weeks ago. Huge Giants fan, great fantasy football takes. You know, the Giants, as bad as they've been, they're still going to be playing football, and the ball's got to go somewhere. And if Golladay is healthy, this guy has shown that he can get it done. That was another guy we talked about, as we just mentioned, with the potential breakout wide receivers. Kenny Golladay was on that list for year 6 players. He's got a lot of the metrics lining up where Golladay could come in and make something happen. Whisper Nation, we always judge your rankings. Now's the time to judge our rankings. Here are our teams, Let us know in the chat how you think Johnny's team did. We saw some folks coming in here giving Travis a grade. Jersey J gives you a B+. He likes your wideouts and running backs make up for it. Good trade capital. So that's what Jersey J says about Travi. Let us know what you think about Johnny's team, because we're going to be giving you guys our rankings of either championship contender, in the playoffs, on the bubble, or outside looking in. Those are the 4 groups of categories that we're going to be evaluating your team. Let us know how we did on this one. I'll move over now to my squad. I drafted in the middle of the 7 spot. I went ahead and took Cooper Kupp number 1 for my team. Oh, John, you want to go ahead and highlight
Travis? Travis, you want to highlight it?
Yeah.
I am drafting there in the 7 spot with Cooper Kupp. I was stoked. I love experimenting in our mock drafts, and in a real draft, maybe I would be taking a quarterback here. But after Lamar Jackson was gone, I wasn't feeling the remaining quarterbacks at the same level. And I think Cooper Kupp is primed to do exactly what he did last year, maybe even more. I'm a little against the grain. I don't think we see any regression for Cooper Kupp. I just don't know why we would. They have another year of rapport between Kupp and Stafford. He's not at an age where we're concerned about wear and tear. It's not like defenses are getting caught off guard. They knew the Cooper Kupp, Matt Stafford connection. They tried to stop it, and Kupp caught a touchdown and won a Super Bowl. So like, I'm not concerned about that stopping. I am encouraged by another year of rapport and even more offensive weapons for the Rams. I fucking love Kupp coming into 2022. Rest of my wide receivers, I feel like I got 3 elites here. I got Tyreek Hill, Deebo Samuel, and Cooper Kupp at my wide receiver positions for the starters. And then Derrick Henry, say what you will. Maybe he gets hurt, maybe he doesn't, but I think they're priming the AFC #1 seed, I think, is coming into 2022. Riding Derrick Henry. He looks healthy. He's catching passes, running up hills. Maybe his efficiency goes out the roof. Maybe his whole body breaks down. We'll have to wait and see. But right now, I love this pickup. I think he's like guaranteed workhorse. Sign me up. Breece Hall is my number 2. I think his skill set is very Jonathan Taylor-esque. I think that the Jets, while we don't yet know, have a lot of indicators of an improved, high-flying offensive team. And I think Breece Hall just has all of the skill sets to be a successful fantasy quarterback as well as an overall NFL quarterback. And then got his handcuff, who's also kind of a viable option, I think, in PPR there with Michael Carter. And then as my third running back who I could just play, Tyler Algier. Not hugely in love, but I am very intrigued. As a second-round rookie draft type of guy in your dynasty startups, I like Algier. I think he's going to have a lot of opportunity. I don't think the other running backs over there in Atlanta are really going to stand up to him. And anyways, I got him in the 12th round, so I could be getting a starting running back there with some upside. I like him as the backup piece. Backup pieces for my 3 elite wide receivers, I'll call them, is Marquise Brown and Gabe Davis. Kept the high ceiling going. I think they're on the field a lot. I like these guys. I did have to take a step back from quarterback, obviously, going with so many other positional players. I took Tua, who I think does have a nice high ceiling as well. I love the weapons that are surrounding him. I'm buying into the camp reports. Yeah, he could bust. He could fall down. That hip could become an issue, whatever. But I think he's also got the makings to be like a mid-range QB1, given the weapons, given the new system. I just think it's a fresh day in Miami, and I'm intrigued. Next quarterback, Carson Wentz. Kind of if you remember last year in Indianapolis, he did have some really nice stretches. I think there's some decent weapons in Washington. I don't think he's a threat of being replaced by anybody else. So I think Wentz is an okay quarterback too. And then I just went with the possible upside of a Zach Wilson. I like the Davis Mills pick, Travi. I was thinking about Mills or Wilson. It's a June mock draft. I said, just give me that upside of the former top 3 overall pick in Zach Wilson. And then my tight end there was Hunter Henry. That calls it a day.
Nice.
I like your running backs and wide receivers a whole lot more than mine, I would say. Well, I like my running backs maybe more. But what my point is that I waited on quarterback as well. And I wanted to see how your team shook out. And I actually have a little bit more confidence in your quarterbacks than mine. So I think you did well in waiting on QB and still building a QB room that you could probably mix and match on your way, because you're going to dominate the running back and wide receiver positions or at least be up in the top of the league in those. So I really like the team. I think the build was well done. Mm-hmm. It's interesting in Superflex because if you miss the QB avalanche, you could really, really be screwed. But I think, it just depends on what you can put together at running back and wide receiver, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We'll certainly see. Lando, you want to round us out here on the panel breakdowns?
Yeah, sounds good. My 2 QBs are going to be Justin Herbert and Ryan Tannehill. I like that duo at the quarterback position. Go over my running backs. I got Joe Mixon, Cam Akers, Miles Sanders, and rookie James Cook. I like James Cook and his upside. Pass catcher on a good offense. I think he could be viable. I don't have a ton of confidence in Singletary. As far as my wide receivers go, we all love Cortland Sutton. We know that, Travi. So
ending a trade, I heard.
Yeah. And then I think I like the stack with Keenan Allen. Juju Smith-Schuster is fine. And then I took the high upside rookies late with Sky Moore and Christian Watson. Overall, Mark Andrews, again, you got that elite either 1A, 1B tight end in the league. It's hard to say. And the upside of Alberto late. I was going to ask you guys later. I overall like my team. It's nothing fancy. Took the value where it came. I think I have a lot of production early. I didn't take a third quarterback, and I was wondering what you guys' thoughts on it. Because in a mock draft, I don't really care of drafting a backup, one that's going to sit on my bench no matter what. So typically, I'd rather use that on a position player just to make my team look better. Where really 3 quarterbacks, I don't know. What's the point? Does it matter? What are your thoughts on drafting 3 quarterbacks? Sometimes I do it because you would do it in a regular draft, but in a mock draft, is it different? I guess that's my question for y'all.
It would probably be different, I would imagine. But I also like what you did here. If Tannehill's your second quarterback, like, yeah, they drafted Malik Willis. They drafted him super late. I don't think Malik Willis is seeing the field without a Tannehill injury this year, right? So if you're going to draft a guy in Tannehill, right, as your second quarterback, then you probably don't need to go 3 QB build because Tannehill's outs to being off the field are literally injury only. So that's kind of, I don't mind that build in that sense. And then, like you said, with a mock, you're definitely more inclined to, draft starters.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm with that.
I think also I'll take a third quarterback that's got some upside on it. Like a Tannehill is a nice, steady, solid option. If you had any room to bring in like a Justin Fields, if that was still available, something on that line, like I guess he was taken way earlier than that, but like, yeah, I think that's fine.
I think Mitch is a good example of an upside because we've seen Mitch drop 50 fantasy points a week.
Yeah,
because of the rushing, and now
that's
he
true.
goes on to an offense. So that's
a great example.
Piggyback, but then
So that's kind of how I'd go about it. So I think you got a really solid floor, you got good ceiling and floor in Herbert, and maybe there's a little room to bring in some potential ceiling at the quarterback space because Tannehill's got you covered there in the floor. That's how I would.
I mean, and I could add, like, I know there's not a ton of quarterbacks on the waiver wire in Superflex, but not every quarterback got drafted.
Yeah, you could
and there's always
injuries. Roll out there Drew Lock with confidence, Lando.
Yeah.
In my one bye week to cover a flex spot, or I could flex. I could flex Juju or Sky Moore, or one of those guys.
For sure.
Big Travie and I had way worse starting options last year.
Yeah, in the listener league, it's a 14-team super flex. Yeah. I believe we started like Davis Mills and
although Davis Mills is not a bad third option, okay.
So yeah, it's for sure.
Yeah.
You do get to the point where you end up. We're sure Marcus what?
Is going to outscore like Sky Moore. Are we sure that he's going to outscore him?
That's exactly what I was just about to say. Like in the 14-team Whisper Listener League, I had Big Ben as my second quarterback after Tom Brady, and I would usually start Deontay Johnson over Big Ben in that spot, and like.
So that's the thing is like most of the case, like even Justin Fields on a few occasions last year got negative fantasy points. So like I know the whole thing is like, always start 2 quarterbacks, even a super flex. It's not always the case.
Right. That's a very, very good point. Good thing to note, as well as some of the other points.
Like, are you gonna know when Justin Fields is getting negative points?
No, I don't. Exactly. I don't think Justin Fields is getting any negative points.
I knew which games that I was benching Ben Roethlisberger in, and I was more right than not. Like
Ben's a little different. Like the statue older, like declining QBs for sure. But
so case by case basis for sure, case by case player as is. Well, let's take a case by case look at the rest of Whisper Nation's squads here. Pizza Belly in the 1-1 goes with the back-to-back number 1 overall quarterback in Josh Allen. He gets his second quarterback in the Superflex League with Derek Carr and has some depth with Daniel Jones. Don't hate this to start. Stephon Diggs is his first wide receiver off the board in the 3rd round. He pairs him with Jerry Jeudy, Tyler Lockett, and Jamison Williams, who should be good once healthy. We think. We're excited to find out. His first running back off the board is James Conner, selected in the 4th round. David Montgomery, round after in 5. And Kareem Hunt, round 9, with James Robinson, hopefully coming back sooner than later in the 12th round. TJ Hawkinson is his tight end, and he gets some depth piece there with Dawson Knox. So pretty well rounded. He's not missing any players. He's got depth at each position. Lando, I'll start with you here. How are you kind of looking at the squad? Is it a playoff? Is it a championship contender in the playoffs, on the bubble, or outside looking in?
Contender, I think. Really good, really solid team. I like it. I'm a fan of Hawkinson too, but with those 2 quarterbacks, you got the nice stack, and the wide receivers are actually pretty solid. It's a very contending team, I think. Yeah,
nice.
I think so.
Yep. Moving on then to the number 2 squad here. Oh, yeah, you got some good comments here coming from Pizza Belly in the draft. Amazing value, for Pizza 2.
Oh, nice.
Day Kizzle 166 takes Jonathan Taylor in the number 2 spot, and then Kenneth Walker as his second running back down there in round 7. Devin Singletary in 11 with Chris Evans, backup running back for the Bengals in the last round 13. Takes Aaron Rodgers as his first quarterback in round 2, and Matt Ryan in the 4th with Mac Jones there in the 5th. Devontae Adams is his first wide receiver off the board in round 3. Allen Robinson to pair in round 6. Devonta Smith, round 9, with Chase Claypool, round 12. He gets 2 tight ends, Dallas Goedert in round 8, with Mike Gesicki there in round number 10. Johnny, are you just not as excited about this squad as I am? How are you feeling?
I think it's a playoff team. I don't know if it's a contender as it sits right now, just because it's a little thin on both the depth at the running back position and thin at the wide receiver depth position. Like, I love Devontae Adams. I love Allen Robinson. I think that those two are locked and loaded as starters. But then, what's Smith's likelihood to be a weekly starter with AJ Brown there? Like, that's the Ryan Claypool. Yeah, I guess if Claypool does end up being that go-to guy for Trubisky, then you have that. But I don't see that. And then you look at the running back position, a little bit thin again. You got Jonathan Taylor, Kenneth Walker. Is he even going to be the starter week 1, or is that is it
round 6?
Yeah. And then Singletary.
Week 6.
So yeah, I like the tight ends. I thought the tight ends were good. I think his quarterbacks are really good, and he's got some really solid, one option, Jonathan Taylor as his top running back, Devontae Adams as his top wide receiver. I think that's a good core. So that's why I say I do think he makes the playoffs, but I think it might be he might need a little luck to get into the championship.
It's interesting. We were talking about 3 QBs, and he went like almost 3 QBs early.
Yeah.
Which is just it's a fascinating build. So I was trying to wrap my head around it. Jersey J saying can't wrap his head around it either. For me, like, yeah, I get Johnny's points about depth, but again, like, we're only starting 2 wide receivers in this format. You do have 1 flex plus the super flex, so maybe I guess you could talk about the depth there. But honestly, it's the hero RB build. I just wish it was different quarterbacks, to be honest. Like, I don't love going with Rodgers, who's probably going to be a more run-heavy Packers. Matt Ryan in a new offense, I think he should be good, but are we like surprised if he's dusted this year?
I think Matt Ryan's actually going to be really good, but I think grabbing him in the 4th is way too expensive.
Carson Wentz was a top 12 quarterback. So how do you
younger than Matt Ryan by quite a bit?
Age is just a number.
Okay, I said I think he'll be good, but what if he's dusted? That's what I said. So calm down. Mac Jones is another one that's like, what's the upside in Mac Jones? So again, I just don't see how it gets there with the QBs you got. I would have liked him to be better with the build you did. That's all.
Yeah, just so the record, Matt Ryan is 37, Carson Wentz is 29. So there is a little bit of difference, but I hear all those points.
Age for a quarterback doesn't really matter that much, but
I know Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers are special.
And Drew Brees and Ben Roethlisberger's arm. Tell that to their arm.
So you think? Okay, all right. I guarantee. Yeah. I watched a lot of Matt Ryan's arm last year, and he was throwing some pretty awesome 40-yard bombs to the glitch and Russell Gage. Pretty sure that guy's not.
We all like Matt Ryan. The points are fair. I think he's going to do well too. But moving on here to the Cast Pajamas, who takes Patrick Mahomes in the 4th spot, and Matt Stafford there in the 2nd, pairs up his super flex, and he gets Davis Mills as a backup quarterback down in the 10th. Man, I think people are sleeping on Davis Mills. I like this one a lot. Aaron Jones is his first halfback along with Ezekiel Elliott, rounds 3 and 4. He gets CEH, Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the 7th, Chase Edmonds in the 9th. That makes up his running back situation. He gets Terry McLaurin in the 5th, DK Metcalf in the 6th, Brandon Ayuk in the 8th, with Robert Woods and Rondale Moore there in the 11th and 13th rounds for some depth pieces. Cole Kmet is tight end. All right, so Travis, I'm really liking this squad. I don't see any holes. I see ceiling actually at every position with some safe pieces kind of too. What do you think?
I pretty much like everything except for the wide receivers. Terry McLaurin, both DK and Terry McLaurin, not at camp. Looking at their possibility of playing with really bad quarterbacks this year and how that'll affect their bag. So
Carson Wentz is a really bad quarterback.
I think that Terry McLaurin thinks so, enough to hold out. So I think that if he's looking at it from a sense of like, hey, I got to go play with this guy this year, I should probably get my contract now so I don't look bad after I play with him. That's where I think the logic is coming in for both him and DK Metcalf. I think they're in very I think that Wentz is better than Metcalf's quarterbacks. Let's not, I don't want to get like some clickbait argument here, like we were in the last conversation. But I do think that's the weakest part of his team. I think everything else is really solid. I think DK Metcalf is a guy. If you look at the numbers with Geno Smith down the stretch, it was actually Lockett who was being targeted more, not DK. He lived off touchdowns. So I wonder if that's sustainable next year if Geno Smith's the quarterback. Maybe if they get Baker, but it looks like that could be Carolina. So I like Ayuk, and I've been seeing a lot of hype. If you look at reception perception, Ayuk versus Gabe Davis, who's getting a lot of steam. Ayuk's actually the better prospect, the better wide receiver. So there's something to be said here that maybe Lance actually, maybe you fade Debo to go get Ayuk later at the value because Ayuk could actually come forth with Lance. I don't know if I'm really loving any of them, but I think that's a fine pick. Robert Woods, you just hope he gets back from the injury. And Rondale Moore, man, that's going to be one of the more interesting pieces with the DeAndre Hopkins suspension. Will Cliff Kingsbury use him in the right fashion? We'll kind of see how that goes. But again, I like everything else here. I think this is a contender just based on the quarterbacks and the running backs. For me, the quarterbacks are top notch. Aaron Jones, I think, is going to smash, especially in PPR. And guys, Zeke was the RB6 in fantasy last year on a torn PCL. So I think we're just a little bit disrespecting Zeke, just a little bit. And we know Jerry Jones loves him. So
I hear all those points, like those ones. I'm with you there on the championship contender for the Cast Pajamas. Well done. Moving on to BroCal38, who's drafted in the 6th spot with Lamar Jackson first off the board. Gets the eternal one, Tom Brady, in the 2nd in this Superflex League. Nick Chubb is his first running back selected in the 3rd, and he's got Rashad Penny, Cordero Patterson to pair with him in rounds 8 and 9, with Ramondre Stevenson being his 4th running back there in the 11th. First wide receiver off the board is Mike Evans, taken in the 4th. Deontay Johnson, Amari Cooper, and back-to-back picks to make his 2nd and 3rd. Chris Olave, rookie for New Orleans, in the 10th. Tyler Boyd and Valdez Scantling to round it out, rounds 12 and 13. Dalton Schultz, tight end for the Dallas Cowboys, is taken in round 7. Lando, I'm looking at this team, and I'm seeing a decently constructed squad with some question marks, yet some excitement still at the running back position outside of Nick Chubb. How are you evaluating this team? And is it a championship contender in the playoffs, on the bubble, or outside looking in for you?
I think it could be a contender, but things need to fall his way. We have, Mike Evans is going to soak up a ton of targets, ton of touchdowns. Deontay has a new quarterback. We're not sure of the quarterback situation with Amari. I do wish he would have taken a running back in and around that run of wide receivers. But overall, I like the team. The value he got laid on. Tyler Boyd is just disrespected every single year going to the 2nd last round. Olave, you got the upside in the rookie. I'm not a big Olave guy, but I understand. Hey, throw a dart. Maybe it hits. I think overall it's a good team. Well balanced. I've drafted with BroCal before. He's always a solid drafter. And I like the team. Very balanced. But yeah, I would like another running back. It's just, I don't know where I would have went differently. Maybe
Deontay Johnson, maybe like one of those, like the Breece Hall, Gibson, ETN, Harris, Mitchell, Jacobs options.
I would have liked a running back instead of Deontay. That's exactly where I think I would have went differently. Good call.
Yeah, good squad though here too, BroCal. I think it was
contending
well done.
Though. I think with Lamar and the eternal one, like you said, it's always contending.
There we go. Let's take a look at Mr. Professor's here himself, Joe Burrow, in the 8th spot, first pick, with Kirk Cousins, his number 2 quarterback there, selected into the 3rd. He takes Austin Eckler as his RB1 in the 2nd, with Antonio Gibson and Josh Jacobs. Melvin Gordon as well there as his remaining running backs, taken in rounds 5, 6, and 10. First wide receiver, he delayed on this one. Round 7, Treylon Burks. Drake London, don't talk to him about rookie wide receivers. Michael Thomas there in the 9th. Christian Kirk with the Jaguars in round 11. Jarvis Landry and Devontae Parker, rounds 12 and 13. Okay, so Johnny, now looking at this squad, I see a lot of young wide receivers. Does that concern you at all with the rest of the team he's got here and how you're ranking it?
Yeah, it does. This team concerns me quite. I love the first half of his draft, like all the way up to the Antonio Gibson pick, maybe Josh Jacobs. We'll see where that ends up. But then with the wide receivers, I just think that, which I guess if you're trying to think, like, wide receivers are kind of the place to miss on, because you can typically pick up a bunch of startable ones on the waiver wire and get you through. But I think at the end of the day, this is going to be one of those teams that's on the outside looking in because of the aforementioned early on the show, where like it could take a little bit before these rookies really kick in and become solid starters. So until then, I think you could be trying to get some wins. So I would say it's on the outside looking in.
I hear those pieces. If you get some rookie love and London and Burks pop off and, start the trend towards 1,000 plus yards early, great. But working against the grain on that.
And really like Kittle too. Like if Kittle were to be Kittle,
I like this.
Then okay. Like then you feel better about the wide receivers taking time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think he's actually going to get a good value on Michael Thomas if we can get Thomas healthy by the time August rolls around. Like that's a huge value. So if you really look at Thomas as your wide receiver one, fully healthy, maybe Kirk, and you let the wide receivers kind of get there, I can see it happening. But right now, I think it needs work.
I mean, Christian Kirk and Jarvis Landry could be his 2 starting wide receivers week 1.
Right.
And he didn't take one to the 11th. I like who he's got that late, but when you're going to be going up against other wide receivers with a little bit more to offer, you got to factor that one in. All right. The FB therapist in the 9 spot takes Najee Harris with his first pick. Saquon Barkley is his second running back, with Travis Etienne his third, rounds 3 and 5. Isaiah Spiller for some added depth there in round 11. Dak Prescott in round 2, with Trey Lance round 4, and Kenny Pickett, last pick of his draft, round 13 in the Superflex pickup. He also delays on wide receiver, with Jalen Waddle being his first in round 6. Brandon Cooks round 7, Rashad Bateman after that, Garrett Wilson to follow, and Chris Godwin recovering from that ACL in round 10. Pat Freiermuth with the Pittsburgh Steelers is his tight end there in round 12. So big Travie here. I'm looking at a delayed selection on wide receivers, but I think he did pretty darn well there, especially with his 3 with Waddle, Cooks, and Bateman. Like sneaky upside on all 3 of those, with also some decent floor, probably more than you might give it credit. That's what I see first. What do you see? And how do you rank them?
That's well said. I think to wait on wide receiver and then hammer it in 6 through 10, and like, if Godwin can go on the 4 to 6 game instead of the 6 to 8 game stretch, that he's out, then this team is looking really good. So to me, it's a playoff team. It'll be a contender if we get Trey Lance as the cheat code quarterback, and if you get something like Godwin coming around. So I think it's a really good team. I think the running backs are stellar. You got upside, you got stability in Najee Harris, you've got upside in Barkley and Etienne. And then, he just did it really right at wide receiver. And I was like, the one thing I want to pick apart is tight end, and you got Pat Freiermuth. So I think it's all pretty well put together here.
I think this one's pretty well put together too. And the only concern would be having to start a wide receiver in your Superflex week 1. But if that's Bateman, well, I guess it would be Bateman. That's the only kind of concern that I get, because Trey Lance might not be starting, neither Pickett either. So then you'd have to go with someone else in your Superflex, but he's got some options.
Yeah.
So wait, did I catch you to get contender, playoffs, bubble, or outside looking?
Firmly playoffs. It'll really depend on Trey Lance, and really not if he's starting. Like if Trey Lance can be a good thrower, like last year he had a broken finger. So if he can be a good thrower of the football, I think this team will be a contender easy.
There we go. Let's take a look now at Alberts, who in the 10 spot takes Justin Jefferson, sniping Johnny 1 pick ahead. Gets CeeDee Lamb as his wide receiver 2 and Michael Pittman as his wide receiver 3 there in rounds 3 and 5. Elijah Moore and Tim Patrick round out his wide receiving core. Pick those 2 up in rounds 10 and 12. Russell Wilson, Denver quarterback, in round 2, with Jameis Winston in round 8. He gets his first running back, Dave Kluge's top 5, Leonard Fournette, there in round 4, with Elijah Mitchell and A.J. Dillon round 6 and 7. Add some extra depth at the running back position with Dameon Pierce. Houston running back around 11 with Damian Williams, who could be spelling James Conner. Maybe he's active on 3rd down. I like that pick there, especially in round 13. His tight end is Zach Ertz, we picked up in round 9. So I guess this one's going back now down to Lando here. I'm looking at really nice wide receiver, at least top heavy with those three and Jefferson, Lamb, and Pittman. I don't hate his running backs either. I'm kind of vibing on this squad. What about you?
I can vibe it. I'm not big on Elijah Mitchell this year, but at the same time, he got pretty decent value on him. I think I prefer Josh Jacobs over him this year, but I see a road to relevance. Same with AJ Dillon. So those two are my hinge running backs, how I really grade this team on those guys and how they do. If they're good, heck, you could be looking at it as an absolute playoff team. I don't love Jameis. I mean, he took the 2 quarterback route. Same with me. So love that, Albert. Appreciate you. And then I like Dameon Pierce too. I think he has a sneaky little rookie upside pick in Dameon Pierce. Those are the late round guys I like to snag. Overall, I like the team. Good build, really good wide receivers. If he needed to trade CeeDee Lamb or Michael Pittman, he'd have no problem doing that to get like an elite running back. So he's got the pieces. One, Ertz, I think, is going to be super solid, especially early in the season without Hopkins. So good build. Love the team. I always say, like, I don't hate the players. I don't hate Elijah Mitchell. There's always a point where you're going to draft him.
Right.
And any of us are going to do that. That's where I think sometimes the listeners take our words too seriously. Like, oh, I hate so-and-so. It's like, no.
At their ADP.
I hate him in the 4th round, but I'll take him in the 6th. Sure. So that's where I think overall I like Albert's team. It's a solid, well-built team.
Championship contender in the playoffs, on the bubble, or outside looking in? Final answer.
I'll say in the playoffs. I'm going to be nice to all your guys. Your subscribers are great drafters, so I'm just going to be nice to everyone.
They really are good. I think this is
I think it's similar to Therapist, where it's like it's a playoff team today, and then also like this thing could smash. Like it's fine. Then this and like one of Mitchell and Dillon become like their ceiling. This team could absolutely wreck other teams.
Yeah, this could be a nasty team.
I got to throw a few more flowers at Elijah Moore, who we're kind of just skirting under. That's actually a high floor, high ceiling player that I think is going to have a really good year coming in.
Yeah. Well, people forget how good of Elijah Moore out of a prospect he was because he played with DK Metcalf and AJ Brown. I feel like he kind of got slept on. Then he came in and balled in the NFL. And I think he's getting slept on again because they obviously Garrett Wilson draft stock. But if Zach Wilson sucks, then Elijah Moore is likely to be the guy that still benefits.
Right. Yeah.
Already benefited with him already.
And so Crowder is out of here.
Wow. Nice.
Crowder out of New York. There we go.
Yeah, dude.
All right. And we are out of Albert's draft. Moving on to Jacob Bly, number 1 guy to round us out. He takes Jamar Chase there at the 112 spot with DeAndre Hopkins, Adam Thielen, Kadarius Toney, and Russell Gage there in round 7 through 10 to make up the rest of his wide receiver core. Takes his first quarterback, Kyler Murray, in the 2nd with Trevor Lawrence in the 6th. Baker Mayfield looks like he's going to be getting some more action in Cleveland. Well, I guess we'll see if they trade him. We'll see what they end up doing. We'll see what the NFL ends up doing. In round 11, he picks up Baker. He takes his first running back there in round 3 with Jameson Williams and Alvin Kamara as his 2nd in round 4. Adds depth at the position with Darrell Henderson round 12 and Robinson there, rookie running back for the Washington Commandos in the 13th round. He gets Darren Waller in the 5th. I'm excited to ask Johnny what he thinks about this squad here because I'm looking at. Well, actually, Johnny, help me. Tell me what I am looking at here with Jacob Bly's squad. I don't dislike it. Do I love it? Please.
I actually do think that he put together quite a squad here. I do like this. I think he's a contender once again. Obviously, there's a couple things that would have to fall his way. Kadarius Toney would have to hit his upside like we kind of expect. Adam Thielen would have to. I do think Adam Thielen is still a value right now, especially in the 5th. Or the 8th, excuse me. I still think he has enough in the tank to get it done.
You got a feeling?
Yeah,
Lando.
I like his running backs enough. I mean, that's the one area you could say, oh, maybe it's a little thin, especially if Alvin Kamara gets suspended. Then you're kind of maybe then he could be on the bubble in that case. But I think it's a pretty solid team build here. So I would say that he's gonna. No, I'll say he'd probably be on the bubble. I'm gonna say he's gonna be on the bubble just because Hopkins out. and then you've got these other wide receivers and things that have to hit their kind of floor, I guess, in order to be relevant. So I guess I would put on the bubble, but I do ultimately like this team. I think it's pretty good.
I mean, there is some uncertainty at wide receiver, but I don't know if it sinks him necessarily, Johnny, right? Because, like, if you look at Thielen and Gage, they could at least help him start well, right? Thielen and Gage could help him start well. And then you wait for Hopkins, and if Tony is nothing, then you count your losses there. But if Tony hits, obviously super good. I think he's more of a playoff team just based on the Kyler Murray, Waller, and running backs, right? So, and then it's like, maybe he gets in there. Lawrence is another wild card for this team. Like, if Trevor Lawrence we saw some really good throws last year. If he can run a little bit more and be like a fringe QB 12 to 15, then I think this team could be pretty good.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm a little concerned about Jameson Williams with his price tag. I'm a little. Javonte Williams. Excuse me, Javonte Williams. Thank you. I'm a little concerned with him at his price tag. Same thing with Darren Waller and the added weapons over there now in Las Vegas. And Tony, I love the hype on it, but you're still kind of taking him here, and you almost need him to do that. Trevor Lawrence is the last one. I'm giving him a big mulligan from Urban Meyer years, but we need to see it. We need to see it. So
the Raiders are so fascinating, just on a tangent. It's like, if you want to be out on one of them, but like, let's play the game that, like, Carr's been really good. And all of these receivers have been really good.
Yeah.
So, like, what happens if the offense is just really fucking good?
Yeah.
Like, then
that's where
they can all eat.
Yes.
So I've been more in on Waller than I was out recently, because I've just been thinking about it, and I'm like, maybe Vegas is a lot better than we actually think, because they're kind of the black sheep of the division, because everybody wants to hype up the other teams, but, like, really they've got a stellar pass catching unit and a guy who is constantly just proving people wrong in Derek Carr.
So Travis, shout out to you for putting out the reel on Twitter today. And you talked about how typically there are 3 teams that have 3 startable assets.
Well, two top 15 wide receivers usually. Yeah.
Right. And then, the quarterbacks, I do think that the Raiders are one of those teams, because we know that this offense is going to use a tight end. We saw it last year and every year in New England, like, they like to use the tight end. They're going to get him involved. And then Hunter Renfrow is a really good receiver. He plays the slot. They target the slot a ton. And then we already know Devontae Adams is a beast. So I think that we're kind of undervaluing this whole entire Raiders offense because of the division, because of the new offense, or OC and stuff. But I do think that there could be a lot of value for the Raiders.
And I like where you guys are going, because you look at the division and they're going to have to score. You go Kansas City, the LA Chargers, and the Denver Broncos. They're going to they have no choice but to score, and they have the weapons to catch. So more first downs, more opportunities, more touchdowns. Their defense isn't going to stop any of those guys.
And
so
what's
going to be
shown more heart over the last few years than the Raiders, who continuously have battled in games they shouldn't be in, and now
a lot of adversity they've overcome.
And now they're even like more loaded. I love that. That same line of thinking is why I've been like kind of turning on Russ, like in the Broncos, like, because at first you love it, and then you're like, well, maybe he'll be more run heavy, because they were run heavy last year. But this division's going to force you to, like, even if we think McDaniels is going to be run heavy, this division is going to force you to throw. So, I'm kind of in on the AFC West still too. But I wanted to, if we have a little bit more time, Pizza Belly had a question about Michael Thomas. So I wanted to get that in here. Can I get your guys' Michael Thomas take, guys? I'd love to hear how you guys are feeling about him now. Lando, why don't you start us there?
I think I'm pretty out on Michael Thomas, to be honest with you. I don't think he has a fraction of what he did. He made his hay. He was number 1 wide receiver based on volume with Drew Brees. I don't think he's worth not drafting. Of course he's worth drafting, but he doesn't hold any value to anyone. So you draft him and then you're stuck with him. No one's going to trade you for Michael Thomas. So I think I'm just pretty much out on him. I have no desire to draft him. I'll take him for free, but I wouldn't trade for him. Sorry, I just don't think this offense is really going to be that good. So I don't really want many pieces of it. Sorry, I wish I could be better. I just
apologize, man. It's all.
It's like a lotto ticket, right? It's like a pure lotto ticket, kind of.
Yeah, but what's the upside though? What's the upside?
the
of Michael
upside
Thomas?
number one wide
Number
receiver.
one overall wide
Yeah,
receiver.
like he's a guy who's
He does not have that anymore. He can't.
How do you say that? How do you know?
Wait. How
He's in his
hold on.
20s,
How
right?
does how does he not still have that when Jameis Winston did that for Mike Evans and Chris Godwin? So that's definitely in the range of outcomes.
I don't know,
but I'm with you, Lando. I'm
know
with
if
you
Shelby
that
wants
it's
to overall
definitely like scary. It's definitely scary considering what you're looking at the actions of New Orleans over this offseason. They brought in a rookie wide receiver that was a top tier rookie wide receiver. Then they also went out and got Jarvis Landry, so who is the underneath guy, and that was, like you said, Michael Thomas thing was this whole slants. Now, can he do more than that? Absolutely. I think so. But you're absolutely right in saying that there is a lot of concern there and that there is a definite gamble when taking him. But there is some pedigree and some stats that could say Winston could support him as a wide receiver one again.
So he's such a conflicting dichotomy because in one hand, like we said, he caught the most passes ever in a season. So you're like, he could be the greatest,
149.
And on the other hand, we don't have a ton of market research on guys that missed 2 years because of an ankle surgery that they put off. So we really don't know what he's going to do. And I would agree that the skepticism is there for I get it, Lando. But also where he's going right now, if we get him now, especially in these drafts, and we get to training camp and that dude's fully healthy and back on the field, I think that there's going to be some – he belongs to me as like a wide receiver 2, maybe even back end wide receiver 2, but with wide receiver 1 upside because we know that's what he's got in his wheelhouse.
So in this draft here, I want to read the 2 names taken right before the 2 wide receivers taken before Michael Thomas and the 2 wide receivers taken after Michael Thomas here in the 9th round. Let me know which one of these guys you'd rather have. 2 wide receivers taken before Michael Thomas were Devonta Smith and Gabe Davis. The 2 wide receivers taken after Michael Thomas were Garrett Wilson and Kadarius Toney.
Oh man.
So, I mean, I think the injury is what concerns me the most. And this guy coming back, a lot of things have to break right for him to get back to relevance. So I'd rather just take the shot on these upside guys that Austin was just saying. These young guys, I'd rather all of them over Michael Thomas just because they haven't been injured. Gabe Davis has some upside. You have some rookies here with some explosiveness. I just don't know if Thomas still has that explosiveness because I don't know. That's why I don't know. We're projecting health, but it's hard to do for a guy that hasn't played football since 2019.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting some Kenny Golladay vibes. It could happen, but I'm thinking with Lando for the most part. I acknowledge the upside and what could happen, but I'm fading on that one. I'd rather go with one of these other upside players.
Gabe Davis is the one I'd take.
Mm-hmm.
Devonta Smith is a tough one. I think there's upside there. The other 2 after him, I'm fine with Thomas over those 2. And I like Toney a lot, but I'm fine with Michael Thomas over Kadarius Toney and Garrett Wilson because I just think there's big question marks for both those guys as well.
Travi, Michael Thomas or Chris Olave?
I'd
redraft this year.
I'd take Michael Thomas this year.
Okay.
But I like Chris Olave a lot. I mean, I have him in Dynasty, and there's been a lot of good reports about him. Apparently, there's this test they do at the combine that shows all the routes they run in the NFL, and he blew every wide receiver out of the water in this route testing. So
wait, so you're telling me there's a reception perception in the NFL combine now? Hell yeah. Let's go.
So I think I think I'd take Thomas over those 2, just kind of as Ron did here. But Davis is the one that I'd take the swing on Gabe Davis over Mike Thomas.
Yeah.
I hear it on those ones. Speaking of reception perception, Travi, do you want to give the Whisper Nation a little bit of a preview what we got coming up later this week?
Yeah. So later this week, we're going to be actually with Kyle Dvorak, but we will, speaking of reception perception, we'll shout out Matt Harmon from Yahoo. We're going to have on the mock draft marathon. We're excited to have Matt Harmon join us for there. We're going to get Lando back, of course, and Mac on that mock draft marathon. That'll be 4 years running to get our boys over there, our brothers in arms over there. But this Thursday, actually, we've got 2 shows this week.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, that's
special show.
That's where I thought Austin was.
So tomorrow, before Thursday,
special.
is Tuesday, and tomorrow we have Sigmund Bloom on the show tomorrow from Football Guys. So make sure it's a special Tuesday show. 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure you guys are checking in for that one. We're going to be talking big level narratives, top burning questions for fantasy football for the 2022 season. And then, of course, we've got our Thursday show, which we'll be doing a best ball underdog draft with Kyle Dvorchak from NBC Sports Edge. So make sure you guys are subscribed and checking out the channel.
Absolutely. And while you're at that, Lando, thanks again for joining us. Always a special treat. Can you tell Whisper Nation where they can follow you at? We've also got your information down in the description below.
Yeah, you got it. We'll be posting. We go live every Tuesday night on our YouTube channel. So check out the Snap Fantasy Football on YouTube. We are Snap_Fantasy on all social media, Instagram, Twitter. I am Lando_FF. If you want to talk to me personally, we have a Discord. We have everything you guys need. So if you want to interact with us, my esteemed co-host Mac is a great guy as well. So reach out to us. Comment on our videos, helps us out. Subscribe to the channel. We very much appreciate it. And thanks, Whisper Nation, for everything. You guys drafted great. And shout out to Johnny Game Time, Big Travie, and Austin. Appreciate you guys very much.
Thank you so much, man. Always a joy to have us. You're welcome anytime. Y'all know him at Snap. Go ahead and follow him. Do yourself a favor. Well, that's it, boys. Whisper Nation, love you so much. That's Johnny Game Time Hicks. There's Big Travie. I'm Austin Sear. We're the Fantasy Whispers. We're out of here. Peace.
Right here.
Hey, you like mock drafting? So do we. Check out one of our previous mocks in the videos here and like and subscribe to catch next week's mock draft coming your way.